Hello again. In this second look at my high-tech lair, I'm going to talk about electro, and specifically the E-Stim System 2B, which is quite a compact electro box. It runs off one 9-volt battery or off the mains. It's got 2 channel outputs and a digital and audio input. It's a great little box. You can put it in your pocket when you're taking it to a club. You can control the 2 channels independently. You can press that, press that twice, select a different program, and then you can control the 2 parameters. But with the one button, if you want to change the second parameter on a channel, hold it down and turn. Can be a bit fiddly, but there's a great simple solution. The 2B is also able to be controlled from your computer. This is the main screen of my electro software. It's called E-Stim Control Server because it does 2 things. It can control the box and it can be used as a server so that another copy of the software running on a different computer can also do that. But first, let's take a look at the basics. On the left here, we've got channel A and channel B, which are the 2 main output settings, setting C and setting D, and these correspond to the adjust button on the box itself. And of course, with a separate slider, you don't have to worry about holding down the select button to twist things. On the right, we have a list of favourite settings, which have been stored and can be recalled at any time. Down here, we've got an adjust box, which is just for letting the system change levels from where they are. Now, let's just run through some of the basics. We click connect, and it connects to the box. It tells us the battery level, the firmware, and we can click plus to turn a setting up and down as we like. Or we can click and it will go in steps of 3 at a time. That doesn't jump to where you've clicked because that could potentially, if you knock the mouse, for example, be a rather unpleasant surprise. And there's an experimental join option here so that if you increase one channel, it automatically sends the command to increase the other at the same time. And again, with the feel, it labels these as depending on what you've selected from the program. So if we go into waterfall, they change to rate change and pulse feel. You can change the power level as well. Changing a lot of these things sets levels back to 0 automatically, incidentally, because you may find that some programs you can go up to 50, 60, others you can take much less on, depending on the electrodes and where they are. At any stage, if you want to stop, click the big stop button. Everything goes back to 0 automatically. Another point worth noticing is that now I'm not clicking anything on screen. What I'm doing instead is turning up the knobs on the box, and that feeds back into the program so it can be controlled by either, whichever you like. So if you need to turn something down or up and the box is the thing you can get to quickly, you can use that rather than the computer. So that's the basic stuff. Setting the program, changing the levels, but there's a lot more clever stuff that this thing can do. For example, you can adjust the levels. Say you think I need a bit more, but I just want to get on with having a wank while the power goes up slowly over the next minute. So let's say we wanted to go up to plus 10 over, and this time we'll say in the next 20 seconds, and we'll only go up by 3 on the B channel. We can put those in, or you could put a minus in, or one channel can go up, the other can go down. You click adjust, and it will work out how long it needs to do something, and this indicator in the bottom right, it's 20% of the way through its changes. At any stage you can click halt, and it will stop changing, stay where it is, rather than going back to 0. So that's a really handy way if you just want to get a little extra. You could put an absolute level in there as well if you like, rather than a relative level. If you find a setting that you find incredibly horny with all the various different levels, and you might think, oh wow, we want that slow and that a bit faster, you really like that? Okay, so you click add favourite, and at the bottom it saves it with the name and the 4 settings. You can double click in there to change that to something else. it sets a rise time, a run time, and a fall time. Now those are something that is very important with the favourites. The rise time is the number of seconds it will take from 0 to get to that level. The run time is the number of seconds it will run for, and the fall time is how long it takes to go back to 0 at the end. By default, it puts in 3 minutes for the run time, and either a minute to start if the levels are over 50, or 30 seconds otherwise. But again, you can double click in those and you can edit the values. If later, when you want to stop, you've been doing something else, the box is in a completely different mode, you want to recall that, you just click on the particular thing you want and you click play, and it will tell you it's rising and give you a percentage update over the next few seconds as it gets up to there, and then a countdown timer as it's working through that 3 minutes, and then it'll tell you it's falling and back. So there's a clear display, you can see exactly what the box is going to be doing. Now of course you may just want to go straight to there. So if the box is already on a particular program, you can say adjust to, and it will then adjust the levels however they need to be adjusted from the current settings to the ones on your favourite. It has to be the same program because changing programs always goes back to 0. The final thing to note here is this sequence box. Now firstly, you can click on an item and you can drag it up and down if you wish. There we go. So you can change the order of your favourites if you like. You can delete them, but this sequence column essentially lets you say which ones do we want to do, and all the ones that are ticked, let's click stop there. We've got, for example, pulse followed by bounce, then we'll take out milk and we'll take out B-split, and if I click play sequence it will start with the first one, it will go to the next one, and so on for the various run times that you set for each. So you can program a complete set of favourites to stimulate or torture someone using the electro however much you like. Here's the random mode. Now this is even more fun. It takes all the things that you've ticked to include in a sequence, and then you can say, okay, how long before the first one starts, in minutes. That's so that, for example, if you were playing solo, you've got time after you set the computer up, you can say, okay, give me 5 minutes while I get into some gear and attach the electrodes and get comfortable lying on the bed or whatever. How long between each program, and you could have a completely random amount so you don't know when the next one is going to start. Or you can just have them go from one to the other straight away if you untick that. And instead of using the times that are defined on the list of favourites, you can say randomly adjust the time for each one from 45 seconds to 200 seconds or whatever you want. You can tell it to stop after it's just gone through the whole list once in whatever random order it decides, or you can tell it to do a loop, in which case you can tell it to stop after a certain number of minutes, say 60 minutes, and then when the 60 minutes is up, it will get to the program that's currently running, and the end of that one, whatever time it's calculated, it will then fade out and go back to 0 and stop. These two are slightly interesting. You can tell it to randomly adjust the power as it goes through for each setting, so it may increase it by 10%, it may decrease it by 10%, you won't know, and each channel can be up or down independently. That's one option. The other option is to boost the power on each loop. You can only put in a number less than 10 so people don't get a really nasty surprise. So here I've got it set so that the first time through it'll use the values that are defined in the favourites. The second time it will increase the A channel by 3, the B channel by 1, and then the third time it'll add those again and again, so it'll slowly be building, and it will do that for each option each time it goes through the loop, and each iteration of the loop will be a different random order, so you don't end up feeling that, oh, I've just had this one, now I'm going to have that one. The edit screen just lets you create a setting directly without having to put the box to that setting. So those are the main things. That's everything you can do with the box and the PC control software. But there's more. If we go into the settings screen, we've got 3 modes: solo, for controlling the box on its own, master or slave. Some of these other options control how that's used. In the slave mode, as you might imagine, the box can also be controlled from somewhere else. The master mode allows you to control a different machine, and you enter its IP address or host name in there. EvoCam is a piece of software for the Mac, so that's not present in the Windows version, that provides a web live streaming service, and the EvoCam link means that when that's ticked, if you're running EvoCam, it will look for the EvoCam document called boycam in this case, and it will put a live caption on the streaming video indicating what mode the box is in and what the settings are, so that if someone's watching that and they're not the one controlling the box, they can still see what's going on. In a later video, I'm going to show you a lot more about the remote control side of this thing, but for now I'm just going to show you one quick feature. I'm now using web browser on another PC screen, and as you can see, I'm slowly increasing the settings. The remote control gives access to all the favourites that you saved on your PC, so someone else can work through those and do almost all the same things. There's just one quick thing that I'm going to show you here, which is this, which is the message window. So when someone is controlling remotely, they can send a message to the software. It pops up in a nice big message like that, so that they can tell you to do something or tell you to get ready because you're going to turn the power up, or whatever they want to do. And it's a big screen, so even if you've not got the computer right next to you, hopefully you can actually read that. So that's a brief look at what we've got on offer in the E-Stim Control Server software.